Eventually seeing them live, starting in the 80s, I realized what a wide swath they cut in music and the culture. Their forays into country, bluegrass, Garcia with Old and in the Way, experimental music, Lesh with Sea Stones, and improvisation, good chunks of concerts and live albums, helped introduce a naive kid like myself to those styles and approaches. From record to record, side project to side project, you never knew what you would get with these guys. And that was part of the fun, and sometimes the exasperation. At least they weren't predictable. For me, the Dead also refuted the argument that England has given us the legendary rock bands, the Beatles, the Who, the Rolling Stones, while America has largely contributed classic solo performers, Dylan, Chuck Berry, Buddy Holly, Springsteen. The Dead were a great band, and very much American. In the many, many years since my introduction to the Dead world, I saw the band live, and also kept up with its post-Garcia offshoots. Starting in 2008, I was fortunate enough to interview the surviving members for numerous stories for Rolling Stone, where I found myself on the, pardon the pun, dead beat. Each man was never less than sharp, opinionated, and candid about the band's past and present, which, in a public relations manipulated world, was absolutely refreshing. They called it as they saw it, and it was easy to respect that. In some ways, those conversations were the launch point for this book, which presented me with the most daunting challenges of my career. So much has been written about the Dead, in print, online, in liner notes, you name it. The books, articles, websites, blogs, and academic papers devoted to them are mountainous. Longtime historians and journalists have written authoritative, superbly researched accounts that every Deadhead should read and study. What in the world could I, a relative outsider, bring to this story? A different structure, for one. When I ran the idea of doing a Dead biography, pegged to their 50th anniversary, past my wife, Maggie, an always astute and insightful editor, she had an immediate idea. 50 years. 50 vital days. A great, if overwhelming, idea, it nonetheless sparked something. What if one painted a selective portrait of the band, its music, its members, and the times around them, by making each chapter about one significant or representative day, using it as a window into what was happening with the Dead during that period? Given the colorful, multi-hued characters and settings that comprise the Dead saga, I tucked the idea in the back of my brain and began my research. In the end, I went with a somewhat curtailed version of that concept. Not quite 50, but enough. I'm sure every Deadhead or band or family member will have their own ideas about which days should have been selected, and I welcome feedback. But for me, these were ones that give this epic saga some shape, and these are the tales I heard along the way. Of course, the Dead story is not just many days, but many stories. Their narrative takes in the rise of an alternative culture, the changes in rock and roll as music and business, the role of technology, especially on stage, the beginnings of a shared community that would lead to social media. In the late 70s, Bob Weir bristled when the TV interviewer pegged the Dead as a 60s band. He was right to be irked. As my research began making clear, the Dead mirrored their times, from the free-living 60s to the rehab-friendly 80s, more than they probably ever intended. As Mountain Girl also suggested, it's also a story about people, young men from disparate musical and cultural backgrounds who joined together, helped transform the sound of popular music, grew together into older men, and shunned responsibility, yet had it thrust upon them in any number of ways. It's about the ways in which they coped with that success and each other as time, lifestyles, and financial weight pressed down upon them. It's not always a serene story. As I learned over 3 years and interviews with over 100 friends, family members, musical colleagues, business executives, and employees, the Dead world was inordinately badass, and only the hardiest survived. Their story is comedy, drama, and tragedy all in one. As Mickey Hart told me, we all played well when we got to that group mind place. When the music played, everything made sense. When the music stopped, things started getting weird. I hope you enjoy this particular ride.